I'm just amazed at how quickly today's show has gone by. It seems like a 15-minute show, but it's just gone by that quick because it's been such a fun time today. Peter Gudmundsson is my next guest. He's the CEO of RecruitMilitary. He's a former U.S. Marine artillery officer who spent most of his career in leadership positions in the human capital and media industries. Peter Gudmundsson, welcome to Money for Lunch.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. I mean, you know, we hear a lot about these veterans that come back, and sometimes they struggle to find jobs, even though some of these guys were in the military for 4 or 6 or 8 years or whatever it was. They have some actual training, but we hear a lot of these guys can't find jobs. What is happening that our veterans can't get jobs? What's happening?
Well, actually, some of it's misperception, actually. You know, a lot of people don't realize that veterans are actually more employed as a group than citizens as a whole. A lot of people don't know that. Young veterans, however, 20-somethings, tend to be underemployed relative to citizens as a whole. A lot of it is just switching pains. It's just a cultural shift. It's learning the skills that it takes to find a job in the civilian world. It's that sort of a switching cost, if you will, that affects a lot of veterans. But once they get settled in, the numbers are clear that they are retained better than most regular citizens, and they perform on a much higher level.
Gotcha. All right. So walk me through here. If that's the case, what kind of challenges face veterans when they come, you know, to rebuilding their lives, or I guess building their civilian careers?
Yeah. Well, veterans, it can be thought of as a lot as if you're getting out of trade school or college. It's this kind of the same thing. The number one question is trying to figure out what is it that they want to do, and it's no different whether you wore a uniform or not. It's just when you're 20-something years old, it's very hard to figure out what you want to do in life. So, and it's hard to know what you want to do when you don't know what's out there. So, number one is figuring out what they want to do. Number two is learning how to articulate their value. For example, I was, as you said earlier, a Marine artillery officer, and I learned very early when I got out to start articulating to people that I work with people and numbers under pressure. And that's something that banks or companies could understand. Okay, people and numbers under pressure. I didn't start talking about how I fired a projectile 12 kilometers away with a 155 millimeter howitzer because that wouldn't make any sense to them. But numbers under pressure, and the fact that if we made transposed a digit here or there, somebody, the wrong person, died. And so that's a pretty big responsibility for a young officer in my case. And so that's the second part, articulating their value. And then finally, learning networking, learning social skills on how just about anybody can help you. You don't need to know the CEO of some big company. You just have to find out people on the inside, get information. Ironically, the same thing they did in the military, collect intelligence and develop a plan. And once they understand that, they have great success.
I like that. I like the way you threw that in there, that it's, you know, kind of part of their training to collect intelligence and then, you know, make a plan, take action. I think that's kind of a cool way of dovetailing that in. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Exactly. I was going to say, as your earlier caller said, stop whining and take action. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good job search motto as well.
Absolutely. All right, so let me ask you this. What are the benefits? Why should I, as corporate America, hire vets?
Yeah, well, in simplest terms, it's just smart. In terms of veterans have by definition been through the military, and as a result, they have values, discipline, skills, teamwork, and there's really no other institution left in our society today that really does such a good job of inculcating those values and those attributes and skills. And so, number one, it just makes good sense to hire veterans. Second, frankly, it looks good. A lot of corporations have figured that out, and they sort of get on the bandwagon because they realize that it fortifies their brand to let people know that they are serious about employing people of the highest caliber who happen to be veterans. And finally, it feels good. It just feels good to be part of something that is right and good, and it's rewarding people who raised their hand and took their turn on the wall to protect all of us. It feels good to compliment and reward that behavior with at least equal access to employment opportunities.
Yeah, and I like the way you said that. You know, they took a stand, and they, you know, and they stood against the wall, and they're literally putting their lives, on the line for us. And I think it's just yeah, absolutely. And some people just need to step up and I think honor these guys back and give them a shot. And let me ask you this: when it comes to transferring that training, so I think you gave a great example. How difficult is that for a company to do? I mean, so if you are talking to a mechanic who needs to work on, tanks, is that transferable? Is that the same kind of engines that might be used, let's say, in a diesel environment?
That's a great example. Yeah, it is actually in many cases. There's an increasing amount of legislation going through the various state governments to make sure that certifications do transfer. There are stories. One here is about a combat medic or Navy corpsman who's been on Afghanistan, actually doing first aid in the field to save a leg or save a life. And they come back here, and the local EMT fire department can't take them because their certification isn't the same, which is, of course, silly. That sort of thing is being dealt with, like I said, at the state level, and they're getting better about that. But, yeah, it is it's really a two-way street. The employers need to learn how to be a little more flexible and ask open-ended questions to understand the veteran's experience when they're trying to decide on qualifications for a position. And likewise, the veterans have to learn how to articulate their value and to get past the buzzwords, get past all that sort of confusion or cultural translation in order to make themselves appear as strong as they really are.
Right. Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about this. What does RecruitMilitary.com do? What are you guys all about?
Yeah, so we're a 16-year-old company, and we have one purpose. It is to help organizations excel by attracting, appreciating, and retaining the highest quality veteran talent. And what that means is we have 4 ways that we help companies hire veterans. 1, we have a job board, RecruitMilitary.com. 2, we have 67 events in 38 cities around the country every day. So, for example, we're in Las Vegas and Houston today. Then we have a magazine called Search and Employ that's given out on bases, so transitioning veterans can interact with employers who advertise in that. And finally, we have a recruiting operation as well, where we help companies find very specific people for open positions they have as well.
I love it. Search and employ.
Exactly. Yeah, I often wonder whether a younger generation gets the whole Vietnam references to that. But yeah, it is acute. It's acute. We also have a newsletter called Hire for Effect as well. We like that one as well.
Oh, I like that. I like that too. Yeah. Well, the good thing is with Xbox and all the different gaming platforms out there, there's all those different war games. So some of those things will resonate with our gamers at least. So there's that. But let me ask you this, I want to say this. One of the things when you introduce your company, one of the things that I like is that you didn't start off by saying, hey, we're here to help to help our vets get a job. We're here to help companies excel,
exactly,
and reach their goals, so to speak, by hiring our trained candidates. I mean, that is the undertone that I got. Is that it's not just hiring our vets; it's helping your company grow as you hire our vets.
It's what we call focusing on the demand side as opposed to focusing on the supply side. And there are literally hundreds of organizations, both government, nonprofit, and for-profit, that exist to help veterans, and they're all well-meaning, and they all try to, and many of them do very good work. But where they fall short is they focus on the supply side. It's who wants to hire this guy, as opposed to what are you looking for, and let me tell you where to fish for high-quality talent. It's in the pool of veterans. That's very much how we approach it, and that's what our employers rely on us to do for them.
Now, let me ask you this. If I remember correctly, isn't there some kind of tax benefit or tax credit when you hire
There are, anywhere from $2,000 to $9,000 of tax credits are available for companies that hire veterans, and there are some, as with all tax credits, there's some red tape and some complexity involved with certain veterans have been out of work for a certain period of time, or veterans that served during various conflicts and so on are eligible and some are not. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. Anyone interested in hiring employers veterans should discuss that with their tax advisor. There's absolutely, it's in a sense a subsidy. One thing I always say, though, is if you hire an employee, a veteran as an employee, the odds are better than even that you're going to end up getting a whole lot more value out of whatever you pay that person, far in excess of any tax credit.
Sure. No, absolutely. And again, as we talked about earlier in the segment, it's a good thing to do for people who have put their life on the line, people who were separated for a long time from their families, who have really, gone the extra mile to serve. And let me tell you, if you know anything about military pay, it's not easy to do that. Military pay is not up, as far as I'm concerned, personally, it's not up to living standards. And there's people who get some type of housing, and there's some of these other benefits, but still, it's very difficult, for our military men and women to do what they do. It's not an easy career decision to go and serve, and definitely my hat's off to our men and women who constantly protect us. And Peter Gudmundsson, I'm grateful for your company, RecruitMilitary.com, that is helping corporate America recognize the value of hiring our veterans. And, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing.
My pleasure. Come back anytime.
All righty.